Okay. The Knicks are back. The Knicks just won game two of round one against the Atlanta Hawks, 101-92. We're all amped up. Knicks Nation is amped up. Ladies, great. Big baby David, how are you feeling? I already said you're feeling great. How else are you feeling?
I'm feeling great.
Okay, perfect.
You got it. Got it on the first try.
You nailed it. Feels really good, especially coming out similarly to the way they came out game one. Come out with like a decisive win that like the last 3 minutes weren't stressful. It's pretty nice. Well, they're stressful, but
Yeah. Just it seemed like there were a lot of parallels to game one in there until the end. So there was some stress involved. Kenny, how are you?
I am also great. The Knicks just won their first playoff game in a long time. I think we said 2014 probably, so that was exciting.
I think I heard him say 8 years. So
yeah,
literally the first one in my adulthood.
Yeah, that sounds right. So I'm pumped. I'm pumped. You and I were at the last game. It did not go as well. Fun time for most of the game until the very end, but did not end the way we wanted to. This game, not very fun for most of the game, and then very fun to end it. So I'm in a good place right now.
Yeah, I mean, it really turned up halfway through that third quarter is when we made our move. But I mean, I guess where to start but the beginning with the bad. The first half was bad. Knicks were losing 57-44 at halftime. I think 15 was as bad as the lead got, 57-42. With under a minute left in that second quarter. Knicks looked bad. Julius Randle didn't hit a field goal in the first half, I don't think. I think he had two points. And when your best player, who's averaging 24, scores 2 points, he's well off pace of what he should be giving you. And it's not that he wasn't scoring; it's that he was doing everything badly. I mean, even to start that second half, he looked lost. I think there was just a play where he thought Derrick Rose was cutting, and he wasn't. He just threw the ball directly out of bounds, and no one was anywhere near him. So that was coming off of game one, where Julius Randle was not himself either. He was even worse to start this first half. Kenny, what did you think about Julius in the first? Before we get to the good, we're going to start with the bad.
Yeah, so for certain, and it was particularly concerning after the first game when he did not shoot well at all. I will say he was both of the last two games he did a great job of rebounding. I think he had 6 rebounds in the first 8 minutes. So he was contributing in some way. He had a nice defensive stop against Trae Young, which that was pretty cool to see. But he just offensively did not look like the guy that we've been watching all season. It looked like he's kind of got those, first time playing in the playoffs jitters, and he was missing shots that he normally makes. He was getting some looks that he normally likes. There was a couple times when he looked like he was trying to draw fouls that didn't get called, and he was starting to get frustrated with that. So all around it wasn't ideal, but he did settle down. I don't know if it was the end of the third quarter or in the fourth quarter, and that was kind of very big for this team.
Yeah, especially coming off that last game. I mean, game one was probably his worst game of the year, especially when you account for just the full context. And even then, he rebounded well very early in this game, but then he only got one more rebound in the second half after those 6 in the first 8-ish minutes or whatever the numbers were. He finishes the half 0 for 6 from the field and just 7 boards. So after getting 6 immediately, it felt like he was just trying to force so much and just get to the line, and nothing was working, and it looked like the old Randle. And after last game, I thought for sure he was going to come out locked in, and he didn't. And the second half was much better.
Yeah. I mean, he was getting double teamed every single play. Not necessarily. Capella wasn't coming up to double team him, but he was just guarding the lane so that if he made a move, he was right there. So he was definitely in a tough spot, and he was having trouble handling that to start. But he turned it on in the second half. Best way to get yourself going is hit a three early. So he did that. I mean, he only ended up with 15, but that means he scored 13 in the second half, which puts him above his 24 points per game pace. So I asked you what he did in the first half. How'd you feel about the second half, Jen?
Yeah, like you said, second half was a lot better. He hit that three to start off the half, which was good. And I think the big notable play that I'd probably talk about it later was the fact that the assist came from Derrick Rose, who started the second half, and that was the first time this season that Alfred Payton has been healthy, and Tibbs has deviated from the Alfred Payton starting the half thing. And I think that was a big part of the reason that Julius Randle was so effective to start the half, was because Derrick Rose, is a threat to score and is a threat to get in the paint, and the defense has to respect him. Whereas if Alfred Payton is on the court, no one is watching him. Whoever's guarding him can just leave him to go guard Julius Randle, and they're sending 2 or 3 bodies of Julius Randle every play, and not having the ability to do that really opened things up for him and allowed him to have a more effective offensive half.
Yeah. And to get to that point about Alfred, I mean, he played 5 minutes. Derrick Rose came in, played the rest of the first quarter, played the entire second quarter, played the entire third quarter. And he came in and closed out the fourth quarter. Derrick Rose ended with 39 minutes. But, I mean, he was Elf to start this game out. He made 1 out of 2 free throws, which everyone was happy to see. But then after that play, he came down and just went one-on-one immediately, which was just like, no, you're not hot because you made 1 out of 2 free throws. Just chill. We were all very pumped about it. But now we were happy about the 1 out of 2 free throws, to be honest. And then you're digging yourself down in the hole again.
Yeah, and to be honest, it looked like he was trying to shoot himself out of this funk, which is the last thing that anyone on the Knicks, any of the Knicks fan wants to see.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like he knew that he was only about to play 4 minutes unless he was doing a good job. So he tried to do a good job, and he did not. But it wasn't entirely his fault, I would say. I'm not going to blame everything on an Elf. Knicks started winning 7-3. And then, I mean, he wasn't the only one missing. The Knicks missed pretty much every single shot in the first quarter. I think they were 4 for 17 was the number we mentioned. And then the Hawks also just came out firing. They hit like 4 or 5 threes, borderline immediately. I think their first 4 shots, their first 4 made shots were all threes. So.
I think there were 4 for 8 to start the game, and I think their first 8 shots from the field were all threes. So they were launching.
Yeah. So. They finished the quarter 6 for 23, 26% overall, and 1 for 7 from 3. Just nothing would go in. Like, they weren't taking smart shots either generally, but they also weren't getting any lucky bounces. It was a miserable watch.
This was not a fun game to watch for about 2.25 quarters.
I'll call it like 2/3 of the game.
Yeah,
that sounds about particularly
right.
Pleasant.
That sounds about right. I'll skip ahead to the point where it may have gotten a little bit exciting. Reggie Bullock's flagrant foul. He set a tone. I mean, 90s basketball, that's not a flagrant foul, but nowadays that was definitely a flagrant foul. So DeAndre Hunter was coming down the floor, and he just gave him a little forearm shiver, which wasn't the best because the Knicks had cut the 13-point lead to 8 at that point. But got the crowd into it. Then the game stopped, and the crowd was out of it for a minute. But then they got back into it again because we started making shots.
Yeah, the Knicks went off. I think it was something like a 30-8 run shortly after that, something crazy like that, which was big time because the Knicks, I think they went down 10 after those free throws, and then I think he got fouled shooting a three, and he made 2 of 3, so they were down 12, and then went on that 30-8 run. So pretty solid. That's a good way to get Madison Square jumping, and Madison Square Garden was going off. Knicks hit just a bunch of threes in the third quarter. I think there were 7 of 10. Bullock hit a couple. I know Burks hit a couple. RJ Barrett hit at least one. It was that, and that's kind of been their thing. They've been a very good shooting team this year, and then they haven't shot well to start this series. And in the third quarter, the cap came off the rim, and they were just making everything, which was just great to see.
Yeah, for the third quarter, Reggie goes 2 for 2. Randle goes 2 for 3. RJ hits the only 3 he takes. Rose goes 2 for 3. Quickly's the only guy who took a 3 and didn't make one. He goes 0 for 1. 7 for 10 as a team.
So I was wrong about Burks. I guess those came in the fourth.
Yes. Burks didn't take one. As he only got in for 2 minutes in the third, which I would have guessed more.
So,
as he came in when Quickly came in, basically, at the very end there.
Yeah. So at 1 point, 6 minutes left in the third. It's 70-58 Atlanta. That's when that's bad. It's
not good.
That's 5/8 of the game.
That's when I'm texting you guys telling you I'm gonna go to sleep soon.
Yeah, 5/8 of the game, 70-58. Then the Knicks make their move. All of a sudden, we're scrolling. 2:41. It's tied 72-72. So that's a 14-2 run.
And let me jump in there quick, and they say they tied it on a Reggie Bullock 3, and the crowd went off. That was awesome.
It was Reggie hit back-to-back threes, I think, or at least from him they were back-to-back. I don't know if they were literal back-to-back possessions.
Yeah, there was one possession in between them.
Yep.
And Julius. So I'll just walk you through how we tied this game. RJ Barrett makes a 2-point shot. Randle makes a free throw. Derrick Rose hits a 3. Julius Randle driving layup. And that's the driving layup also gets the crowd really into it because, finally our MVP is doing what we're expecting him to do.
And he went in hard on that layup. It seemed like in the first half he was trying to draw fouls and stuff, and on that layup in particular, it seemed like he was like, all right, forget that. I'm just going to bully my way through the defense. And he went, directly through Capella, yelled and won, didn't get the call, but he made the layup anyway. Good stuff.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like that.
So we finished the quarter winning 75-76 after going into the quarter with a 13-point deficit. That means we won that quarter by how many points, BBD?
14. I didn't listen to the numbers you said, but
14.
Yes.
14.
Yeah. Not a math pot. That's what they say on the duck in baseball or something. I don't know. Not a fan. But then the fourth quarter starts, and this is when the Garden's really blowing up. This run that the backups made, the second unit made. Alex Burks starts it off with a 3, and then we get the Obi top and alley-oop, which blows the lid off the entire place.
Right.
It's if the Hawks didn't make a comeback immediately afterward, then that would have been the moment of the game. I think that's fair to say.
Probably. Mm-hmm. That was, like you said, that really got the crowd going again. And in the middle of the third quarter, I feel like there was just no energy. The Knicks were down big. We were all saying we were surprised they weren't down bigger, and not a lot going on. And then they make that comeback, things start going crazy, and then that dunk comes, and it's just absolute pandemonium.
Yeah, exactly. And then the second unit expands the lead up to 10, which is wild. We had a Quickly floater in there. And then Burks hit a 2-point shot, made the Hawks call T.O., get their boys into the game. And so, that second unit really – this game was won in the second half, largely by the second unit. But that second unit also blew most of the lead immediately after getting it because the Hawks called a timeout and put all their boys into the game, as I just mentioned. So
yeah, that was immediately after that timeout. I think it was Herter hit a ridiculously long three, and then
Yeah.
there wasn't a lot going on. I think Trae Young might have had like a floater. There's a couple like they were really keying in on Trae Young. Like Reggie Bullock was all over him, and they were every time a screen came, the guy who was screening like his man doubled on Trae Young like hard. Trae got a couple calls on that. He got one as soon as he came in against Reggie Bullock, and then he had another one where it looked like he got tied up by Bullock and possibly Noel, possibly Taj Gibson, and they gave him a foul on that. But I think the fact that they were going so hard at him, like Trae wasn't as effective down the stretch run as he had been, previously in the game when he had I think 25 in the first half or something like that.
So he scored 20 in the first half, 10 in the second, and then with 30. So, I mean, the defense on Trae Young this game was better. I mean, in the second half, at least, we'll say it's better. The first half, yeah. I mean, the guy's good. He was just pulling up from three and doing whatever he wanted until the second half, which, let's talk about that. So Reggie Bullock was the primary defender on Trae Young in the fourth, which means RJ didn't play at all in the fourth. What do we think of that? I mean, that's just what you have to do when you're in that type of predicament. Yeah. I don't know. It's tough because the Knicks, you don't think the Knicks have all that many good players, but they have the guys who are in the game should have been in the game.
Yeah, and Tibbs has done that all year, where he rides the hot hand, and whoever has the hot hand is going to be in. And Reggie Bullock had, I think, 4 threes in the second half. So he was the guy who was going to close out that game. And the threes that he hit were all big threes. So
crucial.
Yeah, and it's nothing, I don't think it's anything to be surprised by. I think RJ Barrett had he had a solid start to the game, and I think he had a solid start to the third quarter as well. But, the Knicks were riding hot. They went on that 30-8 run. They were, they took the lead. And in that situation, Tibbs goes with the hot hand, and Reggie Bullock was that. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm not, concerned about it, and they got the win.
Reggie was finally the hot hand. It didn't happen at any point in the first 6 quarters of this series. So
yeah, it was him and Randle.
And it made sense.
Him and Randle, those first 6 quarters, turned it around in these last 2. That's what did it.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess the most important thing we have to talk about, which I mentioned very, very briefly, is Derrick Rose. This guy is unbelievable. He's just like coming off the bench as this sixth man. And you can see how he got his 6th man of the year finalist nomination because of what he did. So, Kenney, you mentioned how starting him in that second half was integral. So tell us more about Derrick Rose.
Yeah, man. And Derrick Rose, we've said it before, but he just gives me makes me a lot more calm than having Alfred Payton out there, because he's going to do the right thing. I think last game he had a solid offensive game, but he did have a bunch of turnovers, which I think you guys talked about on the post game pod last time. This game, 4 assists, 1 turnover, so in 39 minutes. So he played a lot of minutes this game, and he took care of the ball, and he led all Knicks scorers with 26 points. And it seemed like every time we needed a big bucket, it was either Bullock or Rose hitting the big shot. And I think after we took the lead, I'm not sure if the Hawks took it back or they tied it. And then I think Derrick Rose might have put us ahead for good with a floater, followed by, some subsequent possessions. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember.
That's
it
exactly
feels right.
That is correct. The Hawks tied it 91-91. Derrick Rose hit a floater with 4:45 left to win the game, essentially.
Yeah. So there you go. Derrick Rose hit the game-winning shot with 4:45 left, because the Hawks only ended up with 92 points, and they had 91 at that point, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's statistically correct.
So, yeah, Derrick Rose, game-winning shot. And, that's what he's done. And, even last game, before Trae Young made his shot, Derrick Rose had the floater to tie it, and he's just been hitting big shots and playing big minutes. And like in the first half when no one could get a bucket, Derrick Rose was like he was making crazy layups and he was making pull-up jumpers, and like it was great. And he carried that on into the second half. So again, crazy how far we've come from Derrick Rose's first stint in New York, and to just how much I appreciate his play now.
Yeah, and Rose is. It feels like he's the only guy on the team so far this series that is just unfazed by anything, at least scoring wise. The defense doesn't scare him. He's going right at guys. He'll get the layup off around these long defenders, and I mean, Taj has been really good, but he's not being asked to score. So
yeah,
different things I'm worried about there.
I think part of that is the fact that Taj Gibson and Derrick Rose have been there before. They've been to Eastern Conference Finals. They've been there with Tibbs on the Bulls.
With Tibbs.
This is not new to them. So like I'm willing to give Randle like a benefit of the doubt for the first 6 quarters. Same with Bullock, because like they haven't really been there before, and it seems like they're kind of shaking that feeling now. And I'm hoping to see more of the good Randle and the good Bullock moving forward. But it's been great to have Rose and Gibson to lean on for those first 2 games, because they have been a steadying presence for this team.
Yeah, I mean, Taj Gibson has been unbelievable as well. Played 30 minutes in this one. Clarence Noel still nursing that ankle. He only had 6.7 boards, but his impact was much, much greater than that. He was plus 23 in his 30 minutes. That's a team high. That's a game high. He was just incredible. His defense on that pick and roll down the stretch of that fourth quarter, along with Reggie Bullock, is really what changed the game. Because I mean, Trae Young was just getting what he wanted all first half, all first game, no longer in that fourth quarter. So Taj Gibson, if Tom was here, he'd be going all for you.
Yeah, and again, it can't be overstated how vital he's been. And like even what we talked about before the series was the offensive rebounding and how much of the concern that was. Clint Capella had 1 offensive rebound today. The entire Hawks team had 6, and Taj Gibson had 4 offensive rebounds by himself. So good stuff.
And
yeah, I mean Taj has been. Yeah, I mean we talk a lot about like single game plus minuses, but Taj is plus 23. If you watch that game, that's what it felt like. He felt like the single biggest. If I hesitate to say he was our best player tonight, but he was probably in the whole series. He's been like our consistently best, like influence on the game, most consistent positive influence we've had. There's so many good things to say about him. He's just been making good things happen around him. I've fallen in love with him completely. I mean, I liked everything in the regular season too.
Yeah.
But
I will say one thought I was having down the stretch of this fourth quarter was like, man, I wish all these guys were 5 years younger and we could just watch them for 5 more years. Because these guys, I love this team. And so Taj only ended with 6 points, but I mentioned Obi's dunk being a potential play of the game. My play of the game turns into Taj's dunk, where Julius Randle with 141 left drives in the lane, dishes it to Taj. It looks like he's going up to dunk it in the middle of 3 Hawks. And you're like, this can't end well. And then he dunks it. The Knicks are up 7 with under 2 minutes left. And that's when you finally felt like mildly comfortable. Obviously, we're Knicks fans, so we're not going to say, oh, we're up 7 with 141 left. We won. But you felt like this might be real. We might actually do this.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of echoing on what BBD said earlier, like I didn't check the plus minus during the game because I was watching the game, but like I would have told you very early on that Taj Gibson looked like our best player, like regardless of the fact they only scored 6 points, he only took 4 shots. Like he looked like our most productive player while he was on the floor. And so like when you see that he was plus 23 in 30 minutes, like, all right, I'm not shocked, but like if you're someone who didn't watch this game and who just checks out the box score, that's his numbers aren't going to pop out at you, but like he was just so important to the Knicks just maintaining some level of competency when they were struggling early.
Yeah. I mean, I think we covered a lot of it. One thing I want to bring back is the defense on Trae Young, because that's going to be important going into these next, the next two games, the rest of the entire series. So it looked like they were very, very strongly forcing him left in the fourth quarter, which I know has partially been their game plan. Last game, Frank was forcing him left or trying, but he kind of got off balance, and Trae Young just went right on him despite being.
Trae just didn't let it happen.
Yeah. But Reggie Bullock wasn't having it, and then it seemed Tom would be better with the X's and O's, but it seemed they were making him start the pick and roll a little higher up. And that second, the roll, the big was really coming at him to double team him at the end there. So they're making him.
Yeah, they were blitzing him completely, and like if the Knicks were going to get beat, it wasn't going to be by Trae Young. They were going to make him pass the ball off and someone else take the shot. I don't know if you have the fourth quarter stats, BBD, but I feel like Trae didn't do much after he came in. He might have had one shot that I remember, but down the stretch, like I know they kind of blitzed him.
Yeah, he only got 3 shots off in the fourth quarter, and
one of those was
the only
like
3 he took. I think he just got a floater at one point.
Yeah, so he scored 2 points in the fourth. And that 3 he took was a bomb when the Knicks were up 7 or 9, and it was a terrible shot, but just like kind of desperation. And that's really when I thought the Knicks were going to win. But then the Hawks got the rebound and got another open 3. That's when I thought the Knicks were going to lose. But they missed that 3, and then I was like, okay, we are going to win. It's a roller coaster ride to be a Knicks fan.
Good stuff, and I'm interested to see if that defense keeps up in the next few games, like if they just keep blitzing him like they were, or if that's just kind of a short-term fourth quarter situation, because like they did pick up a couple fouls doing that, and I don't know if it's a sustainable plan for the entire game, because Trae Young is Trae Young, and he's going to get some of those calls, and early foul trouble isn't really what you're aiming for. So like in the fourth quarter, when you have some leeway, maybe, but early foul trouble isn't a recipe for success against the Hawks.
Especially in Atlanta, going away, you'll think he'll probably get some home cooking.
Yep. Like one more thing that we haven't touched on that much is just that we touched on him a little bit, but I want to talk about Obi Toppin a little more, just because he only got 12 minutes, but I feel like he is another guy who was very instrumental in the Knicks having some, semblance of competency at stretches during this game. Like that dunk was big. He played some decent defense. He hit a 3, which is always cool to see. Like Obi, and I think I said it at halftime, but like Obi, Derrick Rose, and Taj Gibson were the 3 best Knicks for the first 6 quarters of this playoff series, which is crazy because shows you how far Obi's come from being just not good at all.
Yeah, and even if not the best Knicks, at least the 3 guys on the team you can say are for sure bringing their best the whole time they've been playing, and it's crazy. I mean, I didn't have Obi logging in both games. He logged 12 productive playoff minutes.
Yeah,
I didn't have that on the board. And given everything we saw in the regular season. Besides, I guess I know that it got better in like April when I basically had to not watch as much Knicks. So it's a little bit of oversight by me on the improvements he made, but I didn't think he was going to contribute like this, and maybe Randle struggling has helped him a little bit because they were able to just throw him out there for 5 full minutes at a time and let him kind of do his thing.
And I think we're going to continue to see that, like, no matter, even if he wasn't playing, because that's another thing that Tibbs has done all year. It's either Randle or Toppin. One of them is on the court, kind of like they always have a traditional center. Though they went small for a few possessions today, which was interesting and shows that the Tibbs was experimenting a little bit with Capella off the court. But man, Obi's turnaround this season has been impressive, and he's really kind of made himself into a fan favorite in these playoffs. Yeah. And Jake also made the point that Obi trying to dunk things that he definitely can't dunk and getting fouled is just, that might be a recipe for success. He did that twice today, and he got 4 free throws out of it. He made 3 of the 4, and that's, I mean, whatever works.
Take that.
Yeah.
He only has 3 rebounds. I would have guessed more. I mean, not much more, but I would have guessed more. And all of them felt like pretty impressive boards too. Like he had to fight for them, which we kind of didn't see all year. And playing solid defense, not stand out, but solid. And Obi making me very, very, very happy.
Yeah, and Clyde was going off about it as well. He's kept saying he's playing more than he ever did in the regular season, which is something that you don't see, which is true. I mean, he played about that's about the same, maybe a little bit more than what he was playing in the regular season pretty regularly. But it was just better, so maybe it seemed like more.
Yeah, I feel like you especially don't usually see that with the guy who's your rookie. Like maybe if you have some vet on the team, like Taj getting a minutes bump in the playoffs makes a little bit of sense. You don't need to run him into the ground in the regular season because like kind of doesn't matter. You want to see what other people can do. But it's very shocking coming from Obi that he gets the minutes bump, and all of the minutes have been good. Like I can't think of like a thing he's done that made me like mad. Like one of the threes he took at one point, I was like, oh, don't go for that. But
and I think
one of those he made also. So who cares?
Yeah, and kind of one of the big turning points for him is that like all season he knew he wasn't getting a lot of minutes, so he was going all out. He's still going all out, but now it seems a little more controlled. Like on defense, he's not running right by the pump fake. He's kind of closing out in a more sensible way. And then on offense, he's like he's going at the boards. He's going hard for dunks that he may or may not have an opportunity to get, and he's getting himself opportunities. And now his teammates have become more accustomed to finding him for those opportunities, and it's a real boost when he gets one of those dunks and the crowd goes off. It helps the team, and so those 12 minutes that he's putting in work are a big 12 minutes.
Yeah, everything he does gets the crowd going.
And the crowd was amazing in these first 2 games. Me and Kenney were part of it in that first one. It was unbelievable to be back in live place. I mean, definitely felt like it was full. It was very full. I think it was like 75% of what they're allowed of what it could technically have.
Full capacity.
21. And it was loud. And it was good to have it loud. We're going to have to deal with how loud Atlanta is, and they're going to be rooting for the other team. So we'll see how we respond to that. We're going to need Randle to be Randle a little earlier in these next couple games, I think. Going to need everybody to just continue doing a good job. Hit some threes, Bullock, Burks. I mean, we don't want to get into how we're going to win next game. I think we've covered most of it. I don't know if you guys have any final parting shots.
I think we're good. Only thing I've got is just all right. Now Julius has put together a good run of playoff minutes, so it's like going on the road. And now that we've seen you do it, let's get off to a good start next game, please.
Yeah,
because otherwise I will cry.
Getting that first win out of the way,
and I just want to see the Knicks team that we saw in the last third of this game continuing to play, because like that's the team that we saw this season a lot, and they were not playing that way for most of last game and for most of this game.
Yeah, I mean, as Randle goes, the Knicks go. Today especially, he was like nothing for the first half, and the Knicks showed that. So get Randle going, and the Knicks got this.
That's our most improved player. I think that was recently announced, so I guess I'll throw that out here. He won most improved player, and
his first episode since then.
Yeah, and he was the most improved player in the second half of this game. See how I brought that back?
That's perfect. It's a perfect closing statement. So the Knicks win this one, 101-92, and I think I feel pretty comfortable saying the Knicks are back.
Knicks tape.